Women are running for Congress in record numbers this year. That's in part because of a surge in Republican women candidates. According to the Center for American Women and Politics at Rutgers University, more than 300 women are in the running for a House seat this November. 211 are Democrats and 96 are Republicans. Both are all-time highs. One of them is Nancy Mace. She's the first woman to graduate from the Corps of Cadets at the Citadel, the military College of South Carolina. She's also a representative in the South Carolina State House. She's seeking to unseat Democratic Congressman Joe Cunningham. He won South Carolina's first congressional district by 4,000 votes in 2018. The victory was the first for a Democrat in the district since 1978. Experts saw Cunningham's win as a major upset. President Trump outpaced Hillary Clinton in the district by 13 points during the 2016 election. And Nancy Mace joins me now. She's the Republican candidate in South Carolina's 1st Congressional District. Representative Mace, thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you, Elaine, for having me on today. I really appreciate you highlighting this race. It's one of the top races in the country.
Yes. So I mentioned the president's margin of victory in that district in 2016. Why do you believe a Democrat was able to flip a Republican stronghold in the midterms?
Well, certainly in the midterms in South Carolina's 1st Congressional District, we had a lot of Republicans that voted for the president that simply didn't turn out because he wasn't on the ballot. And I do believe that this year, being a presidential year, we're going to have record turnout by Republicans. We just saw in the Republican primary that I won by 31 points in a 4-person primary. We had record turnout for that. And I believe those are the kind of numbers that we're going to be seeing in November. And I'm running against a person who voted to impeach the president, who won this district by 13 points, voted to impeach him not once, but twice. He's voted with Nancy Pelosi almost 90% of the time since he's been in office. He's been very partisan. And I offer to bring a new independent voice to the district.
Well, as you know, there is a lot of outside money in this race. How do you plan to appeal to voters who went for Joe Cunningham?
Well, certainly I am raising money as hard as I can. This is a big race, and there's going to be millions of dollars spent on both sides of the aisle in this thing. But the difference between Congressman Cunningham and I is that I grew up here. I'm from here. I have broken barriers all my life, including when I graduated from the Citadel 21 years ago. I'm a businesswoman and a state lawmaker. And although I'm Republican, I have a very fiscally conservative record as a state lawmaker. I also have a strong history of reaching across the aisle and working with Democrats on issues that are important to everybody in South Carolina's 1st Congressional District. And for example, just a few months ago, our governor signed my prison reform bill into law. And so Democrats talk a lot about these issues, but they don't actually do anything about it. And I've been in the district. I grew up here. I know the issues. And I've been working on them in my work as a state lawmaker over the last 3 years. So the argument isn't that tough. I just have to get the word out. And if people are tired of buying what Nancy Pelosi is selling, then they should send a new Nancy to Congress. And my website is nancymace.org.
All right, get that plug in there. I want to ask you, Representative, about women voters. In our CBS News poll done before the convention, Joe Biden closed the gap to just 6 points among white women. Black women are siding with Democrats by a 93-4 margin. Is the Republican Party, you think, doing enough to appeal to women?
Certainly. I mean, we have a record number of Republican women that are running for Congress this year. So many moms, single moms like myself, we have raised our hand and said enough is enough. Our kids and our country are worth fighting for. And that's why I'm running for this seat, too. And it's really important for all of us, whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, to set example for our children, for our communities. And there are record numbers of women on both sides running for office. And I think it's quite remarkable. But I'm running to win, and I'm really excited about this race. As a businesswoman, I've been breaking barriers also all my life. And South Carolina has never elected a Republican woman to Congress. And I plan to make that difference this year in November.
I know, Representative, you recently talked publicly about the fact that you're recovering from the coronavirus. How are you doing now?
Well, I would describe my recovery as some of us have been reading about this in the last couple of weeks, as a long hauler. I will tell you, COVID-19 is a serious illness, and I was very sick. And even at one point, I struggled to catch my breath. And my oldest, my son, who's an eighth grader this year, turned to me and he said, Mommy, you sound like Darth Vader when you breathe. But it's not just being sick with COVID-19 for a few days or a couple of weeks. It's the process of recovery for some patients can take weeks or even months to recover from. And so I want folks to take this illness very seriously, to take care of not only ourselves and our families, but our communities as well. It's a very important issue that we're focused on here in the district, and making sure that, one, people know and are aware of how serious it is. And it's not until really that you either know someone or know someone in your community and they talk about it openly like we have, so that people can take it seriously, because there are a lot of precautions we should take.
I'm glad you're able to be with us now to talk about this. It is such an
Yeah.
important issue. You know, we are speaking during the week that the Republican convention is happening,
Right.
and I'm sure you saw last night there was a gathering in the Rose Garden. We heard and saw the First Lady speak there, but I couldn't help but notice
Hmm.
it did not appear as though those chairs were necessarily socially distanced 6 feet. What did you think when you saw this? Having gone through this yourself, what would be you know, your message, or what were your thoughts when you saw this, and how has this maybe affected your thinking with respect to policy on this issue?
Yeah, no, I think it's important. Any event that I personally do as a state lawmaker, or even as a mom or a businesswoman, it's important that we are socially distant, that we stay 6 feet apart, that we wear masks, that we use hand sanitizer and wash our hands before and after events. That's really important. And I know just from campaigning, it really has changed the way that we do business, the way that we also campaign, and the way that we interact with our neighbors even. And it is really important for us to socially distance. And just me personally, any event that I have done, we've always made sure that we limit the number of people, we stay 6 feet apart, and we try to accommodate those guidelines as best as possible.
Do you think
But I
that
do,
it would be
yeah.
helpful to? Oh, go ahead. Yes, go ahead, Representative.
No, I was just going to say, I appreciate the message I am seeing at the convention this week, one of hope and of the American dream. We saw Ambassador Nikki Haley and Senator Tim Scott give remarkable speeches, and South Carolina has created some of the greatest leaders that our country has seen in a really long time. And I admire everything that they're doing also to bring that message of hope and the American dream and the American spirit to the American people.
That was going to be my next question, is what is it that
Yeah,
you would like to hear from the president? You know, also with respect to the coronavirus, because it has been
right.
pointed out that, for instance, his economic advisor, Larry Kudlow, talked about this pandemic in the past tense, and you used the word long hauler to describe your
Yep,
recovery, which refers to the fact that it is a tough
it
road
is.
to recovery, as
Hmm.
you can personally attest to. Um, do you think that in the effort to be optimistic, it may in fact be sending a bit of a mixed message about how serious the virus really is?
No, I don't think so at all. I think that we need to offer hope to the American people. I think that this election really is not about anyone particularly running for office. It's not about my Democratic opponent. It's not about Nancy Mace running for Congress. It really should be about the American people and about our future. If you had asked me just a few years ago, I would have never said this, but I do believe it's the election of our lifetime. And as a single working mom, I believe that my kids and my country are worth fighting for. Pre COVID-19, we had one of the greatest economies in generations. I know in my hometown of Charleston, South Carolina, we had an unemployment rate of 1.86%. If you wanted a job, you had a job. And so these are things that we have to work on together, both as Republicans and Democrats. We have to be united and show that front. That's why I'm working really hard to show that I've been bipartisan throughout my tenure as a state lawmaker, because I believe in that message of hope. And I do believe that there are certain economic policies that can provide immediate relief to families and to businesses. Our country, at least South Carolina's first congressional district, our backbone of our economy are small businesses. And there are things that Congress can do right now to provide relief to students, to businesses, and to families everywhere. But because we're so divided and so divisive in this country, literally burning down cities and pulling people out of cars, beating them unconscious, we're not focused, we're distracted, and we've got to come back together and be one country, the United States of America. And that's what I'm really seeing in the speeches being delivered this week. It's giving all of us hope.
Nancy Mace, Representative, I'm glad to have the chance to talk to you. I'm glad you're doing well. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Elaine. Appreciate it.